So the other day I was scrolling mindlessly through Reels, like I do sometimes. I'm sure you do it too. And I came across a big company who advises pre-meds. And the person was on the screen saying that out of all the first year pre-meds, at a particular school or in a class, I should say, one or two of them will end up in med school. And when I saw that, like my gut reaction was like, what the, like, where did you get your data? Like, how did you come up with that statistic? Like, did someone do a study? Did they survey, college freshman classes and then they tracked the students and then they found out that only one or two of them ended up in med school? Like, how did they come up with that specific stat and put it out there to the pre-med universe? Because this company has like bajillions of followers, thousands, whatever. And they're putting this out there. Now, when I'm a pre-med and I'm reading this and it's like, oh my God, only one or two of us out of the whole class is going to make it. What does that mean for me? Oh, I'm not special or unique. There's nothing about me that's going to make me get into med school. So why should I even try? And oh, it's so hard. And you just get caught up in this like super toxic pre-med, blah, blah, blah. Those companies that do that, that make it seem almost impossible for pre-meds to get into med school, they're doing that because they have an agenda. That person is trying to sell something to you. They're trying to sell fear to you. They're trying to sell the idea that you can't possibly get into med school unless you buy their products. And guess what? Their products are hella expensive. So he's up there, telling you why it's so hard, why it's so impossible to get into med school. Um, so as someone who actually worked at a university, I'm not sure if this person ever actually worked at a university with real pre-meds as first and second years. But as someone who did do that, I taught freshman seminar classes for 6 years, and I taught specific pre-med freshman seminar classes. Um, I look back at some of those people that I remember, and I look back at the pictures I used to take of me in my class, and I assure you that more than two of them are in med school. Um, when I look at my cohorts of applicants, I work with about 50 people a year. Most of them get into med school. So, first of all, it's not a good look, dude, to say that only one or two people are getting into med school, um, especially if you have no experience doing undergrad advising. Anybody who is an undergrad advisor who works at an undergrad campus will tell you that more than two people get into med school in a class. If your students are dropping out of being pre-med, um, it's not because the med school process is too hard. There's usually a lot of other factors that lead to that. It's not because admissions is so competitive. There are a lot of, issues people face. And what I have found is that even if someone temporarily leaves the pre-med path while they're an undergrad, oftentimes they'll come back to it. So they may come back to it after they graduate college, and then they may decide, okay, now I'm ready to get on this path and finish what I started. So I don't know. I get really uptight when I see people like putting those types of like fear tactics out there. It's so toxic. There's no reason to like increase the stress and create that type of insecurity in people. Just he could have made the exact same point he wanted to make without saying that. And that's the whole thing is like putting that out there, and he had it in big written letters. It is a gimmick. He wants people to click. He wants people to listen. He wants to scare people. He wants people to think that they need his services. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm an advising company and I want to help people. And I definitely want people to, like, maybe take advantage of the services I offer. But I'm not going to do that by scaring you. I'm not going to do that by telling you it's impossible. I'm actually going to do that by telling you it's very possible. Like, quite the opposite. It's very possible for you to get into med school. And lots of people get into med school without using me. And lots of people get into med school without using that person. Lots of people get in without using any advisor. Some people like help. Some people don't know how to do what you have to do in this process. Some people don't want to have to go track down tons of resources and read it all themselves. Some people want someone to help them along the way and coach them and make sure that they are successful without the added stress of trying to figure it all out. There's no shame in that. That's the same reason I don't change my own oil in my car. I don't want to have to research how to change my oil. I'll just pay someone to do it. But I'm not going to try to scare you into using me. I think that advisors and test prep companies that do that, they're the big reason we have so much unnecessary mental health concerns in the pre-med population, because there's just these constant messages that you're not good enough, you're not going to make it, it's too hard. And I really wish that would stop.